we made all the mistakes that you make on your first deal, right?
Great. So tell me more. What are those mistakes?
At the time, we only really knew two ways to make money in property.
Yep.
You buy something, you renovate it, and you sell it, or you buy something and you rent it out.
Hello everyone, welcome to Behind the Awards, the Property Investors Awards podcast. I am your host, Nellie McQuinn. For those of you who don't know me, I am a recovering property developer and also winner of New Property Investor of the Year at the Property Investors Awards long ago in 2017. I am also currently a will writer, and I'm really excited that my company Away Wills has been able to partner with the Property Investors Awards to bring you this amazing show. And what a guest we have today. For our very first episode, we have Jake Colwill from Innova Property. Jake, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks, Nellie. Privileged to be the first guest.
Yes, very, very excited. Thank you for coming. Now, you are part of the Property Investors Awards family, of course, but not just once, twice. Yep. So tell me, last year you won.
Yeah, so last year we won the HMO Investor of the Year.
Yep.
And then this year we are a finalist for Property Investor of the Year.
Amazing. So you've sort of expanded from just HMO in that category to, all of your strategies.
Yeah, so our business was very sort of HMO focused for the first sort of 5 or 6 years. And then naturally we've just kind of diversified into some bigger and not necessarily better, but maybe more creative sort of deals and strategies. So it's just kind of naturally evolved over time. Amazing.
So let's go back. I want to give our listeners and our viewers a sense of how you got into property. So this is obviously the culmination of many years in the industry, and you run the company with your partner in life and work, Lucy. And so take me back to how it got started, because you were a Cornish boy, grew up on the coast, is that right?
Yeah, grew up in a town called Bude on the north coast of Cornwall.
Good for surfing.
Yeah, good for surfing, yeah. So for me, property kind of started with a very sort of hands-on experience. So my dad ran a kitchen company.
Yep.
So I grew up sort of working sort of school holidays, weekends, on the tools, sort of labouring to start and then building up sort of carpentry, and we kind of did a bit of everything really. It was kind of home improvement. So like we'd fit the kitchens, we'd knock walls down, we'd kind of, do the tiling, whatever was required basically. Yeah. So that was kind of my entry into the property space, so to speak. I then moved to Cardiff, went to university, which is where I met Lucy.
Yep.
And back then we were living in sort of student accommodation, and I was looking at it from a kind of a business sort of perspective. Obviously that's what I was studying in uni, so I was kind of looking at the rents that we were paying and
doing the math, working out the profit.
At the time I think we were paying like 350 quid a month in rent, and there were 8 of us living in this house, so we were looking at that being students, thinking, wow, this landlord's making quite a lot of money.
Good.
He rocked up one day to do an inspection in Aston, and we thought, right, this is the career for us. And it was funny because even back then, Lucy and myself had a bit of an interest in property. So I actually had a friend on my course, and we would go to the property auctions in Cardiff, and we would
awesome.
Obviously we're not going to buy anything, right, with students, but we were just there just watching, just kind of for fun. I love really
that. Students are going out getting absolutely wasted, and you're going to property auctions.
We were getting wasted as well. We were probably quite hungover at the property auctions, but it was just quite interesting, and so we kind of thought to ourselves, like, this is the kind of the industry that we want to be in. So when Lucy and I left university, we kind of sat down, and I think we were on the beach actually, and we're like, what should we do now, sort of thing. And we both said, look, we want to get into property somehow, but we had no idea how to. So we kind of just parked it. We went traveling for a year, came back, sort of started the kind of the corporate sort of career path, if you like. So
you abandoned property to do the corporate career?
Yeah, so not abandoned as such, but we were renting a place in Cardiff. We didn't exactly have sort of tons of capital or any way to really get started. So I stayed in sort of the kitchen industry, went down that route, started working for a German kitchen manufacturer.
So it was tangential. It was still in the sort of
it was in the back of our mind. Still in the kind of property sort of industry
space.
ish. So we were kind of selling high-end German kitchens, and I was sort of working my way up to a management role. Lucy went down a corporate path and worked for various people like BT and stuff as a HR business partner. But then alongside that, we both came into a little bit of money. So I got a little bit of inheritance from my gran. Lucy got a little bit as well. And we thought, great, let's put our cash together and we're going to buy a house. So that coincided with moving to Bristol. So we bought a flat in Bristol.
And that was the first sort of purchase that you made together?
Correct, yes,
wow,
together.
Okay.
Yeah. So
was it a fixer-upper?
It was, yeah. So, we made all the mistakes that you make on your first deal, right?
Great.
So
tell me more. What are those mistakes?
At the time, we only really knew 2 ways to make money in property.
Right?
You buy something, you renovate it, and you sell it. Or you buy something and you rent it out. So you basically either get a chunk of cash or you get your monthly
fairly
income.
Standard ways of
and it was just very, very basic, back of a fag packet kind of calculations. We're like, okay, so if we just park this cash in a buy-to-let, and we're making X amount per month.
Did you buy it outright or it was leveraged?
No, it's leveraged. We're like, okay, that's our deposit gone, and we're going to get a few hundred quid a month, and it just wasn't that exciting. We're like, or we could buy somewhere. We could live in it, we could just do it up while we're living in it. We could sell it and then generate a big chunk of capital, hopefully.
Reinvest.
And then we thought that was a quicker way to build the pot and scale.
And that's what you did.
And that's what we did. But we had no idea about kind of assessing the market, figuring out end valuations, comparables. So all we were doing is going on Rightmove, finding the most rundown looking properties. And we just assumed it was good value because it was run down. And it had, there was no gas central heating. It was single glazed windows. It had ivy growing through the windows. It was riddled with asbestos. It was like, it was pretty grim. But
and you were living in that?
Yes. So we were renting whilst we had like the asbestos removed and stuff. And so thankfully we were aware of that. And then we moved in. But we also didn't know simple things like, it was a leasehold flat. We didn't understand that you needed the permission from the freeholder to make certain changes. So we get the keys, the asbestos is all removed. We move in, start ripping walls down immediately. Got a fairly sort of stern cease and desist sort of email from the neighbours upstairs who were solicitors. And that really put the brakes on things. So we'd already ripped the kitchen out at this point and we were living in it. So that delayed us by about 3 months. So for 3 months we were sort of washing up in the bath. And
yes, I was going to ask, is this the washing up in the bath scenario?
Yeah, and it wasn't even just for a week or two. It was like sort of permanent. 3 months. Yeah, absolutely.
And bathing in the bath.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so you do your washing up, then you have to clean the bath. So that you can then actually use it to have a bath.
Okay, great, good.
So it's just a lot of work. And then alongside that, obviously we were working full-time jobs. We were both regional, so it wasn't just kind of 40-hour weeks. We were kind of working sort of 60-hour week plus, traveling around the country, attending meetings, and then coming back and either working through the night or working sort of weekends to get it done, basically.
The hard graft, as it were.
Yeah. We also overspec that flat.
Yeah. I think that's pretty common.
Yeah. I worked in sort of high-end sort of interiors, and Lucy has a real sort of keen eye for interior design.
Which is followed through into your current properties for sure. And we'll
absolutely, but we kind of we didn't get the balance right on that project. So we put sort of solid oak sort of flooring, quartz worktops, Miele appliances. We had a hot water tap, a downdraft extractor. Obviously, I was in the kitchen industry,
oh my gosh.
so
I mean, I hope you got a good discount.
I did, but still.
Yeah.
And that flat ended up selling to a student.
Oh.
And you think a student does not need or want or
Miele appliances.
attribute any value to Miele appliances or hot water taps. So we just massively misjudged the market. We thought it was well suited for maybe a family, but actually it was quite small. The second bedroom was tiny. It was very close to the university, so actually did kind of suit sort of a student. But we got loads wrong, but it taught us a lot.
And so in terms of for the listeners who are thinking that they want to get into property, and I have much the same experience about living in the building site, and I've done that and got my hands dirty. What big takeaways in terms of researching the market and making sure that you aren't overspeccing, what would you recommend that people do if they are ready, gung-ho, they're going to roll up their, sleeves and do the painting themselves? How would you recommend that they approach that so they don't make those same mistakes?
I think if you're new, I would speak to other people that are in the industry and have got their finger on the pulse. So a prime example in that particular situation would be speak to the local agents.
Yeah.
What are they seeing there's most demand for? Is there a lot of demand for super high spec, second stepper homes or 2-bed flats or, 3-bedroom homes for families? Where's the most demand coming from? And what sort of expectations do people have?
Yeah.
And then, kind of deliver your product to suit that demand.
Yeah.
Rather than just winging it and just doing, the best of everything, which is great. But
if you're in Kensington in central London.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's not always the most commercially viable.
Of course.
Which we definitely learned after that first project. And since then, I don't think we've done a project to that spec since.
Wow.
We've done projects that look similar.
Yeah.
But it's just not, it's different materials.
Yeah.
It's not the boiling water tap. It's not Miele appliances. It's
I do love a good boiling water tap. I love a boiling water tap. So tell me about the dynamic between you and Lucy in terms of, you are obviously together, you have a child, you were working together.
Yep.
In the early days, was there one of you that was more kind of hands-on? How does that dynamic work for people who are thinking of entering into this with their partners?
Yeah, so to start with, it was just kind of both of us rolling up our sleeves and doing absolutely everything. So to start with, obviously we had a very definitive and small budget. Mm-hmm. So everything that we could do ourselves, we saw as obviously, it was a necessity. It wasn't even an option, really.
Yeah, of course.
The way that we've always worked is whatever cash we have, that's our deposit. We never really keep any of our own money for refurbs.
The refurb,
we either just do it with a sort of a wing and a prayer. We raise private finance now. We use development finance, but that's always how we worked. And it was the same back then. So our cash went in as a deposit to buy the best property we could for that amount of money. Everything else we'd have to just figure out.
Your labour went into
exactly. So it's a lot of sweat equity, pulling in favours from friends and family, all that sort of stuff. So to start with, it was very much Lucy and I doing everything.
Yeah.
And we kind of took that sort of principle all the way through to we self-manage. So
still you self-manage?
Still self-manage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
With help of a VA.
Yep.
But then naturally, Lucy took a bit more of a lead on the letting side of things, the compliance, the interior design. I would then take more of a lead on the sourcing, the finance, and the build side of things.
Right.
And then it's kind of, as we've grown, that's obviously, there's more and more kind of roles within the business.
Yeah.
But it kind of naturally has followed those kind of original roles.
And so talk to me a little bit about that sort of step, because you guys are clearly an established company. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But you started very much in the trenches.
Yep.
Was there a moment that you felt that shift? Was there something that you did or a project that you worked on that made you think, oh wow, this is now next level?
I don't know if there's an individual project, because we've kind of rinsed and repeated a very similar model time and time again for quite a number of years, because it just worked.
It's working.
It worked, and I see a lot of people chasing the shiny pennies and going for crazy complicated and creative deals, which are great on paper, but they need a level of kind of experience and stuff to execute those deals. We kind of found what worked well for us and just kept doing it.
Yeah.
And what we did is we stayed in our day jobs as until we physically couldn't juggle everything. Anymore. So I think, we were both working. We both got multiple promotions. So we're taking on more and more responsibility in the day jobs. We were probably managing, 30, 40 tenants potentially.
Wow, that's a lot.
We probably had 5 active refurbs on the go at a time. And we were just
and you're working day jobs.
Yeah, and we're this is just burning us out. We have no choice, but we have to leave the day jobs. So there wasn't a single project that we did.
Yeah.
It was just the portfolio got to a size that we just physically couldn't do both.
Yeah.
And give our all to both. So we're obviously we're going to prioritize the business because that's the goal anyway.
Yeah.
So we kind of set ourselves a goal to both be full-time in property by the time we were 30.
Yeah.
And we just achieved it. So as we were turning 30, we kind of handed in the notices.
Wow. And how long ago was that?
3 years ago.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's amazing. And so now in terms of the company, what does Innova look like in terms of, you mentioned a VA, but is it otherwise freelancers and the contractors? What does the company look like?
Yeah, so I mean, the core kind of team, it's myself and Lucy, and then it's our VA.
Okay, so it's still that kind of intimate
does,
family.
Sort of 40 hours a month, 10 hours a week. So it breaks down to 2 hours per day.
Fine.
And Tracy, the VA, is very much focused on lettings, compliance, admin related stuff.
Yeah.
And then Lucy and myself are kind of the boots on the ground. But we've got quite a varied portfolio. So we've got service accommodation, we've got standalone buy-to-lets, we've got HMOs, we've got freehold blocks. Yeah, so let's dig into that a bit more, because that's a lot of different strategies, but in terms of skill set, that's a very range and diverse requirement to be able to manage all of that. Is there a reason that you have such a diverse kind of structure, or is it just that's what's naturally unfolded? So some of those strategies, it would have probably been slight naivety to start with, where we were just shiny penny. Anything, if it works, we'll do it. But you become a bit of a jack of all trades, a master of none, right? So we kind of did a few essays and then a couple of individual buy-to-lets, and we're like, the essays, whilst great, they kick off a lot of cash flow. It is a hospitality business. It is a lot of work, and the work is all, because they are like holiday homes as opposed to like contractors or anything. It's very anti-social hours that you have to work on those. So that's not really for us. It doesn't align with our goals and what we want to achieve out of this business. So we haven't pursued any more essays. So there's 2 in the portfolio. They do very well. They're by the coast in Pembrokeshire. So it's Lucy's old family home. So
Pembrokeshire. Okay. So what's that? That's
in Tenby.
Yeah, but that's a bit of a drive from Bristol. So so
it's all done remotely. Lucy manages all the bookings and stuff. So there's like a cleaning team in place and stuff like that. So difficult to manage. No ambitions to grow that whatsoever. But though that property wouldn't really suit any other strategy, and it's got sentimental value to Lucy, so she doesn't want to sell it. We then went down the route of buying individual buy-to-lets in Cardiff, and the reason why we chose Cardiff is because we knew it. We went to uni there. It was cheaper than Bristol. So we were in essence
you're getting a bit closer.
A little bit closer. It's coming
working your way back.
So we were doing flips in Bristol, generating chunks of capital, redeploying that capital into investment properties to hold. And we were looking at the Bristol market going, well, if we've made 30, 40k on a flip, it doesn't really get us anywhere in Bristol, but you could still buy a flat in Cardiff for 100, 120 grand and use that as your deposit. So we then did that, but we're like, this isn't really that exciting. We're parking the cash. Whilst we were renovating them, we weren't buying them on bridging or anything like that. So it's like you just put it on a 2-year fix or a 5-year fix, then you get some cash back. But it was slow going. And then we we kind of came back to HMOs. Obviously, we knew HMOs because we lived in.
I was going to say, HMOs was kind of your first experience it because you were in them, literally.
Exactly that. And that was our bread and butter for quite a number of years in Bristol.
Okay.
And that is probably the bulk of our portfolio. At least 50% of the portfolio is HMOs. So we did that, and then HMOs are great for the cash flow, absolutely, and they enabled us to leave the day jobs. And
so that was it. The HMO kind of was the
100%
strategy that left.
Pays the bills. We can draw a salary from it. It covers all the overheads of the business. That was kind of I guess the key strategy that was a bit of a gear change. But then naturally, the more time you spend in property and the better known you are in your local area, you start being sent other deals. And we've dabbled in kind of like commercial to resi conversions and thought whilst they went well, there's a lot of planning risk there, building risk. They take a lot longer depending on what your exit is. If you're going to sell them, you then got obviously the debate, well, not debate, but the risk of what's the market going to be like when you come to sell. We've had sales take sort of 9 months when we're on bridging finance and it's just burning through your profits. actually, we're quite comfortable with HMOs.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
take all
Little
this
less
extra
stressful,
risk?
yeah.
So it kind of pulled us back a little bit. But then more recently, we've kind of stumbled into freehold blocks of flats and a lot of title splitting, both to flip and to hold. And that's worked really well. So that's formed almost like a secondary favourite strategy for us.
Okay, so we've got a second favourite strategy,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
HMO and the title split.
And the title splits. So we've done quite a few of those. We've done 5 of those in the last sort of 18 months, which is
Wow, that's a pace. And so you mentioned when we spoke earlier that title split was the sort of the key deal that you put in when you were applying for this year's Property Investors Awards,
Yes.
amongst obviously
Yeah.
a lot of other things. Can you tell us a bit more about what you're doing with the title split? How is it working? How are you sourcing the deal? How are you finding those deals? You know, tell me a little bit more about how that happens.
For some context, so we still run kind of almost like a dual approach to our business. So we've got one company that focuses on capital generating strategies. So ultimately buying, developing, restructuring, and then selling to generate chunks of capital. And then we've got our investment portfolio, which is just buy to hold.
Right.
Okay. And so across those 5 freehold blocks that we've bought in the last 18 months, we've done 3 on the trading side, and then 2 that we've retained in our investment portfolio. And the one that we kind of put forward for the award this year, so that was a block. It was quite an interesting deal. So we'd already bought 2 blocks from a particular vendor.
Right.
So the block came to us off market, and it was one that we didn't really want originally. But we got a really good relationship with the vendor, and we're quite transparent with him. So we kind of said, look, we've got a lot on. We're quite busy at the minute. Look, if we were going to buy this, we'd look to either renovate it, title split it, sell it individually, or maybe we would hold it on a yield. Bit of time passed. I think it was probably best part of a year, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then he came back to us and was like, look, we do want to sell this.
Yeah.
We'd dealt with him on a couple of transactions, and he was like, look, I trust you guys. I'd rather just sort of sell it to you. I've had a valuation from the auctioneer, and they've suggested a guide of 1.8 and a reserve of 1.9. And we said, look, it just doesn't really excite us at that price. If we were going to buy this, we would probably retain it in our portfolio. We would buy it on, let's say, a yield and yield-based valuation. We'd offer 1.56 for it, expecting him to just say,
laugh you out the room. Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, great, okay, let's do it.
Wow.
So we felt like we had to buy it now.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
But it's quite a creative deal. So it was an ex-hotel that had been split into 7 flats, and then it had a Muse house to the rear, which was a HMO. So there were loads of moving parts. So the HMOs never had formal planning. It was inside a well-established Article 4, and it was over the thresholds in the area and stuff. So you're not going to get planning easily for new HMOs in the area. So because we had the relationship with him, we said, well, look, let's piece together this paperwork. Do we have 10 years worth of ASTs that we can prove to get a certificate of lawful use for the C4? One of the properties he did, one of the properties he didn't. So we were able to obtain a certificate of lawful use for the Muse House HMO. Great, that bumps the value up.
That's good.
And then for the other, which was a 3-bed maisonette, he had 8 years worth of use. So we thought, well, we'll take a view on that one. We'll just apply. We'll pay for it.
Happens.
In Bristol at the minute, you can bypass the council and apply straight to the planning inspector because the planning department in Bristol is a bit of a shambles.
Wow.
Which is great.
That's good.
So we did that. We said, look, we've got 8 years worth of history. We know it's not 10 years, but look, you can't demonstrate any harm. You've had no complaints, etc., etc. So we got that one approved as well. So then
amazing.
Got formalised planning for the 2 HMOs. We then split the titles during the conveyancing process.
Okay.
So that was obviously a cost, that we had to take, at our risk. So I think the legals on that was about 15 grand for the solicitor. Then you've got architecture fees, planning fees. So
that's quite in the grand scheme of the deal, not a big gamble, but in terms of cash on the line at the outset, that's not chump change.
Yeah, so we probably committed best part of 20 grand, I imagine, in that deal, which obviously if it fell through, we would have lost.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But But yeah, so basically we created all the leaseholds, we split off the HMO onto its own freehold title. And then what we did is we bridged it and we leveraged against this aggregate split value, not the purchase price.
Yeah.
So split value came back at, from memory, 2.265.
And you've paid 1.56.
We paid 1.56
costs.
And then within 3 months on the bridge, we'd refinanced it all onto individual sort of term products, and that came back at 2.41.
Great.
And the only refurb work involved was we did about what was the refurb? About 20 odd K on one of the flats, just because it was vacant. So we thought, well, seeing as it's vacant,
we'll paint and do it.
Yeah, new kitchen, new bathroom, renovate this one.
I'm assuming you didn't do that one yourself.
No,
no hot water taps.
No, we try and do as little work inside ourselves now as possible. But so that's how that deal kind of came about. Really. So it's off market.
Yeah.
The only reason it came to us originally was because we'd done lots of small deals.
Yeah.
And we'd actually sold these small deals through a certain agent. That agent then bought us this introduction. So look, we've got a vendor who's looking to offload some of his portfolio, put us in touch. We bought the one block. We put a price in, stuck to that price, no survey, things crop up, but we just say, look, we'll take that on chin. We stick to our price. We don't renegotiate. Built the rapport with the vendor.
Yeah.
And then he said, great, I've got another,
it comes
2,
back
3,
to
4. Yeah. So, he's already sent us another one, which we actually don't want. But
but
it was because we've kind of nurtured that relationship, and we had the integrity to come through and sort of purchase it for the agreed price, and we didn't renegotiate or anything like that.
But really then for people entering the industry, because I remember this when I was sort of new to the space and hearing about connections and I know the vendor and thinking I'm never going to know a vendor. And then I ended up knowing a vendor who ended up, I think, buying 3 or 4 properties. It's a similar thing to you. It was the estate agent really at the beginning, wasn't it? So it 100%. Does go back to showing up. I remember canvassing the high street near where I lived and just, going with my business card and saying, hi, I'm back, And so for people who don't have those connections, that really is the way to sort of meet those people.
Yeah, I think action leads to opportunity, right? So we were just pumping out loads of average deals. Like they were all decent deals, but none of them were kind of, you're never going to retire on any of these deals. Sure. It was never going to enable you to leave the day job after one deal, but we were just head down, pumping out all these deals, buying off the agents, reselling through the agents. We were just busy. We were just active in the market. And then the introduction got made. So it's just off the back of being active and just
being in their inbox, isn't it? It's 100%. That sort of being there, knowing who you are, knowing that you're reliable.
Like, a lot of the agents that we deal with, if somebody else just called them and said, I'm such and such and I'm looking for this, it's very hard, I think, to build the trust or the rapport with the agent because you haven't actually transacted yet.
100%.
And a lot of our kind of how we kind of pitch our offer to the vendors is like we've done our due diligence up front. We're not just going to put an offer in here, then get a survey and just chip you on price. We'll stand by our offer. We don't renegotiate. So if you accept our offer, that's the offer that we will actually transact at.
Yeah.
And once the agents know that, they can then say that with confidence to the vendors.
Yeah,
so I think that
100%
helped us in that scenario.
I think that integrity is so important. We're selling a property at the moment, and I will say the property market here, the industry here is very different to Australia, where I grew up, where in Australia you put the offer in and it's binding, much like Scotland, which is brilliant when you are selling because you know that's coming through, whereas we've just been through months of backwards and forwards, and our buyers pulled out, and it's so frustrating.
It really is.
And back to the point of the agents, I can guarantee that our estate agent is never going to accept an offer from that couple again because they messed us around so much. And that's obviously domestic and they're first time buyers, but it's the same principle, isn't it? Because our agent knew that we're furious and frustrated. They've wasted time and haven't got paid because they don't get their commission if they don't sell. So it is about that integrity, I think, at all levels.
I think a lot of people in the industry also, they'll get an offer accepted and then they'll see it as a win if they can then chip the vendor by 10 grand because they benefited 10 grand. But they're not getting the next deal from that agent.
Correct.
So actually, the opportunity cost is probably much bigger,
much more
than what you've just saved on that renegotiation.
100%. And if you think about the deals that you're going to get potentially first off market, you know, introductions, etc., what's the value of that? Probably more than the 10 grand that they're going to chip away at. So, yeah, I totally agree. So, an amazing deal that you've just talked about, absolutely brilliant. You also mentioned that that's one of many great deals. You've had quite a brilliant year from what you were busy. You've been busy, but this is also at a time when most of the property investors I know are either running for the hills or they are sort of, you know, bunkering down and holding on for dear life. We've had interest rates that were ridiculous. And it's a really turbulent time. And yet Jake and Lucy over here have had a brilliant year. Tell me how you've kind of weathered that storm when most of us are, you know, struggling with our umbrellas.
I wish I knew.
Please tell us. We're all desperate to know.
Yeah, I think there's got to be several factors, right? So our core portfolio is built on very high yielding properties, so HMOs. So obviously, that means that when interest rates rose, even to their height after kind of the mini budget and stuff, we were still able to comfortably meet stress tests, and all deals were profitable. And, you know, even if they had to refinance within the time, you know, they still stacked up. So that's great. So that's kind of like your core foundation of the business is covered. And really, I think that's down to building the cash flow first. So focusing on cash flow, high yielding properties, that laid a really strong foundation, and that enabled us to take on sort of more creative and I guess focus a little bit more in the last sort of 18 months on capital generating sort of strategies. Because ultimately, if you are reliant on property to pay your salary, you know, and you're doing developments and that development isn't going to generate any profit for 18 months, 2 years, you know, however long,
you're in trouble,
right? But if you've got a solid foundation of cash flowing assets that's paying your salaries regardless of what happens with this next deal that you're working on, it enables you to take on a little bit more risk, be a bit more creative. I also think timing wise, I think we would just, in a way, there's a bit of luck there. You know, we were just busy, active, building up the relationships, you know, sort of building up the network locally to where we invest. You know, over the last sort of 6, 7, 8 years, that a lot of these deals have just started coming to us, I guess, at the right time. If we'd started 3 or 4 years later, we'd be 3 or 4 years down the line. And this deal wouldn't have happened now, because if this deal, or many of the deals that we've done in the last 18 months, came to us 4 years ago, we wouldn't have had the knowledge to execute it.
Sure.
You know, we wouldn't have had the power team. We wouldn't have had the right solicitors that would be able to title split and create the leases during conveyancing. You know, we used to work with kind of like, you know, when you're new, you go online and you type in cheap conveyancer, don't you, right? And then, you know, it would have blown their mind what we were trying to do. You know, we wouldn't have had the architect to be able to do it, or the lenders or the private investors. So another complexity with that deal is that when it came to us, we had no cash. So all of the capital that went into the deal was investor finance.
Wow.
And those investors only work with us because we've worked with them in multiple other deals and paid them back. So it was kind of a combination of things, really. So it's hard to say. I don't know exactly. I think it's a combination of lots of stuff. We also run quite a lean business. So, you know, we self-manage the lettings, you know, so we're not paying 10 or 12%. That's a huge chunk. You know, if you're
with multiple portfolio properties, that's a huge
chunk of money that stays within our business.
Yeah, of course.
That can act as deposits, can repay investors, can pay their interest, you know, whatever you need the cash for, right? So we're quite lean in terms of our operation, which obviously then increases profitability. So that obviously helps.
Taking it, aren't you? It's your salary.
Yeah,
so you are doing the work and earning the money and taking that salary, rightfully so. Dealing with tenants, as anyone knows, it deserves remuneration. It's hard work, isn't it?
I think in individual properties, it's not so much. It's just when you grow to a certain volume and a scale, it's just the constant kind of
it's never off.
You know, even brand newly renovated properties, you know, there's always maintenance, there's always stuff to do, there's always some level of churn. I think our kind of churn rates are probably pretty low on average, because we renovate properties to a certain level, and we try and buy nice properties in nice areas and renovate them to a really high standard. So, combine that with a good level of service to our customer, which is the tenant, and actually why would they leave? Ultimately. So a lot of our professional tenants in HMO rooms, I mean, we've had tenants stay for 5 years. On average, we're well over a year per tenancy.
And that's even in the HMOs?
In the HMOs, yeah.
That's interesting, because HMOs are quite transient by nature, aren't they? You sort of, they feel like you come, you move on, like you had with your experience, student digs, etc. So that's quite fantastic. Yeah,
obviously students are kind of cyclical, so they're a year at a time, although some of our groups will stay for a second year. But the professionals, we try and pitch our spec at basically the very top of the market, and we will set our rents at maybe not quite the top, so we'll be just below. So we typically don't struggle to fill the rooms, and actually then if those tenants are ever looking to move, they're probably looking at the rest of the market going, actually, why would I pay more for a worse spec property?
Not good.
So why move?
Wow. Okay. We're just going to take a quick break there because we are going to hear from the sponsor, Away Wills.
You plan every deal, every renovation, every exit. But have you planned what happens after you?
You spend years, everything you've got, building your empire. But if something goes wrong, all that hard work needs protecting.
That's why I connected with Away Wills, so my property portfolio was protected.
Dad, look!
For these rascals.
And the founder is a property developer, just like us.
Didn't even have to explain what an HMO was.
At Away Wills, we cut through the jargon and get to what matters, protecting what you've built and the people you love.
Contact Away Wills for a no-obligation chat about protecting your property empire today. www.awaywills.com.
Okay, so we were just talking about how as HMOs, you design them and spec them out, not to the point of boiling water taps and quartz surfaces, I'm sure. However, something that really struck me when I looked at your portfolio, and it is something you mention in your website, is that you are design-led. And I just want to touch on that because I think there's a bit of a bad rep sometimes with property developers, developer beige and, that sort of quick and easy, put it in, get out of there. And HMOs also have quite a bad rep in some places of being a bit of a sort of cattle house. What led to that kind of pull to be so focused on design? And how do you balance not over-speccing and making it look so wonderful? Because your properties look very high-end.
Thank you.
It's obviously paying dividends, but talk to me about those decisions.
So I think it's twofold, actually. So I think there's a commercial angle, and there's actually that's the aspect that we enjoy. So it adds value to us. We haven't found anything that's as rewarding or satisfying as taking an absolute wreck or a shell of a property and transforming it into this really high-end lovely home,
beautiful space
that we would want to live in ourselves, right? So working in the corporate kind of world, you'd be rushed off your feet, you'd be dealing with all these problems, you'd get home at the end of the day, it's all admin based on your laptop, you've got nothing to show for it, right? Whereas in property, actually you've got something tangible. It's a great sense of achievement.
Can't you?
And then when you get the feedback from the tenants and like with the students when they move in and the parents are like, wow, this is nicer than our house. It feels great. But actually, it's not all just about feeling great. There's got to be a commercial angle, right?
Yes.
We've seen that actually you can create quite a high-end look, but actually it doesn't really have to cost much more than whitewashing the walls. A certain color paint, whilst it might be marginally more expensive if it's color matched versus if it's white, in the grand scheme of things, that's not costing much more.
No, and it looks fantastic, doesn't it? If you go in there's like a color drenched room versus that magnolia.
Exactly. Well thought through layouts. Not kind of compromising on spaces by forcing that extra bedroom, all these sorts of things. I guess there is a commercial angle with the extra bedroom because you might get an extra bedroom's rent, but then actually if you've got higher churn and it's harder to fill, then that's it. So we've kind of managed to find a balance where we can deliver properties that look fantastic, and really appeal to tenants, are easy to let, but it doesn't really cost us much more than just whitewashing everything ultimately.
Yeah,
so
sure.
A lot of that I have to give the kudos to Lucy.
That's her kind of baby? She does.
Yeah, so
the design.
she'll come up with like the mood boards, and very much like an interior designer would comes up with the mood boards, picks the themes, picks the colours and the furniture off the back of that, and once you kind of have your model and you know what works, you just kind of rinse and repeat it really. So a lot of it is very similar materials.
You know that colour works, and you know that
to something that we've used before. And like there's specific like oak kitchen doors, for example. That so my dad still runs a kitchen company, so we get our kitchens at sort of trade rates, which is good. But we've probably used that 20, 30 times.
Well, if it
works,
ain't broke,
it looks
don't
great.
fix it, right?
This is it really. So there's some basic stuff that we do, like feature paneling in rooms, and we always still focus on the kitchens because
that's your history.
So you said you're sure you're not putting quartz worktops, but actually we do put quartz worktops and Cori in all of our HMOs because we can get it at trade rates.
Yeah, of
basically.
course. And it does make a difference. I do think 100%. There are some things that make a difference, but to your point, there are some things that you can make look amazing with a little bit of class and style that don't have to break the bank.
And it's very hard for me to say like it's yielded this % return more than if we hadn't done it. But all I know is that the portfolio performs very, very well. Yeah. Our market in Bristol has become quite saturated recently. You've also then got some localized issues. We had sort of a new Article 4 introduced, which then created this real kind of gold rush for new HMOs in the area, which then they all came online at the same time and created an oversupply. Yeah. Combine that with the government's kind of messing with student visas and a drop everything. A drop in international student numbers. Sure. And Bristol's been a tough market. For years it wasn't. You just couldn't build rooms quick enough, right? So kind of, I think it was 3 years ago in September, we advertised one room and had 113 inquiries within 24 hours.
Wow.
Which just shows that's not normal for any market, right?
No.
But it just shows the level of, the shortage of accommodation.
And now what would you say?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Per room. So up from
within
130.
the same month. So that's September when a lot of the students are moving in. Maybe there's a last minute grab for rooms. Yeah. That's the difference within a 2 to 3 year period. So obviously you can imagine them.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. So then all of a sudden what you're doing is you're actually competing. You're competing with everyone else with HMO rooms. Previously, there were physically not enough rooms or flats or houses to go around. Yeah. So actually you could deliver crap. Yeah. And you would still fill it. Because tenants sadly had no other choice, right? Yeah. But now, in our market anyway, there is choice. And actually there's probably more properties available than there are tenants. So actually then all of a sudden the balance swings in favour of the tenant, and they're like, actually I don't want that crappy mouldy flat or HMO room. I want this one which is nicely renovated and looks like, it's an Instagram worthy house. Yeah. And it's only, 40 quid a month more or whatever it is. So in that situation, I think spending that little bit extra on
pays dividends.
Interior design, on some nicer finishes, on a better furniture pack, whatever it is that makes you stand out from the competition is well worth it. Because like I say, if the market is kind of like it was several years ago and there was a shortage of accommodation, you don't need to focus on it. But if you have to start competing, then it pays dividends.
And so that takes us nicely to what's next for you guys, given how we've said that. I mean, those stats are amazing, going from 130 down to a handful in, that's the sort of stats I'd expect a decade and a half. So do you think that trend is going to continue? Do you think we're in a period of uncertainty? We've had so much turmoil in terms of governance and regulations and the government. Yeah. What do you think is next, and what is in the future for you and Lucy and Innova?
So we're a little bit undecided at the minute. There's definitely a huge amount of uncertainty. Yeah. All the extra regulation, the Renters' Rights Bill, all the tax changes. Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen in the budget next month? There's a very anti-landlord sentiment around, which is categorically driving a lot of landlords out. I know the data's like, some people saying it is, some people saying it's not. I've never seen as much.
No, it is.
I've never seen as much kind of X landlord stock on the market.
Yeah, agreed.
The auctions are just rammed
Packed.
with
Yep.
rundown HMOs, buy-to-lets. It's crazy. So there are deals to be done, but then you do just have to keep one eye on it. Well, are they selling for genuine reasons, or is it just the fear factor?
Yeah.
So we're kind of like, it's a weird one. It would be a great time to be bullish.
I was just about to say, surely though, that is the time to be scooping up all those deals and to looking at those HMOs that people just do not have the energy anymore and going, hey, we can make it something brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, we bought a block of flats probably about 18 months ago actually. And the sole reason for us buying that block of flats is because the vendor was concerned about the renters' rights bill.
Wow.
That was it. That was the only one reason.
Literally exited because of that.
No, it's only just coming into
Play
effect
now.
So
Yeah.
this was like 2
2 days
years
ago,
prior, but he was just spooked by it. Just said, I just want out. So you can have it for 100 grand less than the agents just valued it at, purely because I want out.
Now. I want to go now.
So there are definitely opportunities to be had for those who are willing to take them and take the risk.
But there's risk.
There is risk. I think you just have to run a more professional operation, and everything that's happening with the end of fixed term tenancies and all that sort of stuff. I think you just have to be able to factor in or weather the storm. A few more voids here, maybe maybe a few more kind of obviously you're not going to be able to put rents up as easily because obviously they can go to tribunal. So I think scale will de-risk that for you, because if you've got a big enough portfolio, we've had a tenant that didn't pay us for sort of 6 months, probably owed us sort of 5 grand. If that was your only property,
tenant, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. You know.
Yeah.
As it happened, we're like, it didn't really lose any sleep over it. Because we're like, fine, the portfolio can absorb it.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of make it back once he does leave and we renovate it and sell it or whatever. So I think you either need to grow to a sufficient level that you can absorb those extra costs, the extra legislative burden that comes with
burden. I love that.
With property.
The legislative burden of property.
Or, if you only have one or two, you're better just selling and then just putting the money elsewhere, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. So really for you, what mitigates your risk is that foundation of cash is king, really, isn't it? That's that cash flow is generating that revenue, and you can fall back on that no matter what.
100%.
So we're nearly coming to the end of our time. I want to know, we've just talked about sort of next steps for you guys, sort of short term. What are you thinking kind of 30, 40 years? What's the vision? Is it retire to the south of France? What does that kind of legacy look like for you?
Yes, it's a hard one to answer, right? So we are in our early 30s. We are workaholics.
Yeah.
So we don't want to retire. We would be bored. We actually enjoy what we do. So we will continue to buy, develop, renovate properties for the rest of our lives, I imagine. But it's what type of projects do you do? Yeah. We don't really want to be taking on the stress and dealing with planning departments and all the stuff that comes with that. So it's probably focusing on projects that we're passionate about, maybe that are a bit less stressful. Which property is stressful, right? Everything you do is,
without a doubt. Yeah. we can. It looks, social media makes it look very glamorous. And you and I talked about the Lamborghini 100%. And the Rolex that everyone thinks they're going to buy after their first flip. It's not like that.
Nonsense.
Yeah, utter rubbish.
Absolutely.
But equally, you guys have got freedom. I know you are so hands-on and you work, but what you've just said about how much you love it and you'd never retire from it, to me, that is kind of the ultimate wealth, right?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
doing what you love and not having to do it.
Yeah, and having the freedom to be in control of your own time and go on holiday when you want. Yeah. So, I guess the big question though is what you do, after you've, passed away. Does it go to the children or whatever?
It's literally like you're in my head. I was just about to ask that.
Yeah.
I intend to ask every one of our guests, what are you going to do after you pass? Is it going down to the next generation, or are you going to spend it and then make the next generation work their way back up as well?
I don't know yet. It will depend whether so we've got one son who's almost 2. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's too early to know if he has any interest in property. Yeah. He may hate property. He may see how stressful it is and how hard we work and think, I don't want anything to do with that. Yeah. In which case, there's not a lot of point, right? But it seems a shame to work this hard to build something to then just liquidate it.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of think
You'd have a great retirement though.
we would, but then the rent roll covers your retirement anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, part of me kind of thinks, well, you know, if you work this hard and take on this much stress and whatever to build this thing, it'd be nice to build it so it's kind of bulletproof for future generations and put sort of mechanisms in place that you can pass it down and maybe, you know, either outsource or employ people to run it so it runs kind of a bit more self-sufficiently. But I think it's too early to tell because we don't know if our kids are going to even want it. So what would be the point? Because, you know, we've looked at like family investment companies and trusts and stuff, but they cost a lot to set up properly.
Yes, they do. And to manage and to run.
This is it. So like, is it even worth spending the money right now? We don't know.
You're young,
we already have a fairly tax efficient setup with like a holding group and stuff. So that's fine for our lifetime.
Yeah.
And obviously we can keep everything within that and then decide at a bit of a later date, really.
Great. And do you have a will?
We do.
Good. Good. Right. Thank you so much, Jake. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I've no doubt that you and Lucy are going to go on to amazing things, more amazing things than you're already doing. Thank you for being our first guest.
Thank you. Been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you everyone who is watching. Thank you everyone who's listening. We will include all of Jake's links in the show notes. Please stay tuned for our next episode of Behind the Awards, the Property Investors Awards podcast. I'm Nellie McQuinn, your host. Thank you very much for being with us.